A woman along with her two companions, Hugo and Louise, and their beloved dog Lynx travels to a lonely hunting lodge in the Austrian Alps. The peaceful surroundings promise a relaxing getaway, but things take an eerie turn. Upon arriving at the lodge, Louise insists that Hugo join her at a nearby pub in a small village, leaving the woman and Lynx behind. The woman, hoping to unwind, decides to rest alone, waiting for her friends to return the next day. But when morning arrives, there's no sign of Hugo or Louise. The silence feels unnerving, and as the hours pass, a sense of insecurity begins to creep over her. Worry fills her thoughts. What if something has happened to them? She decides to leave the lodge and search for them, with Lynx by her side. As they walk down the empty street of the village, Lynx suddenly charges ahead, barking wildly. Confused, the woman follows, but Lynx refuses to move forward. The dog growls and pulls back, clearly frightened by something the woman cannot see. She inspects the area, but there's nothing there. The dog's fearful behavior is enough to make her heart race. When the woman attempts to continue, something strange happens. She walks into an invisible barrier. She can't see it, but when she reaches out, her hands press against something smooth and solid. The barrier seems to shimmer like glass, as if it's there but not there. No matter how hard she pushes or tries to maneuver around it, the barrier refuses to budge. Frustrated and more confused than ever, she decides to return to the lodge with Lynx. Back at the lodge, things take an even stranger turn. While passing a farmhouse, she attempts to interact with the owners, but again, she is stopped by the same invisible wall. The couple inside the farmhouse appears frozen, as if stuck in time. They don't respond to her calls or movements. The woman presses against the wall with all her strength, but it's as though no one can hear her, no matter how loud she screams. The situation feels more surreal with each passing moment, like something out of a dream. Days pass and the woman becomes more isolated. Every day she checks the barrier to see if it's gone, only to be disappointed by its continued existence. Then one night she hears a loud noise outside her door. Terrified, she opens it only to find the invisible wall has shrunk, now blocking the entrance to the lodge. Panic sets in and she screams, but as quickly as it appeared, it vanishes, and she wakes up the next morning to find the wall gone, as if it were nothing more than a nightmare. Despite the relief, she feels unsettled. She's convinced something is wrong with the village, and as she looks through binoculars, she realizes the couple at the farmhouse and everyone else seems to be dead, frozen in time. Left alone with no answers, the woman tries to make the best of her situation. She finds a wild cow nearby and names her Bella. The cow provides some comfort and sustenance, but it also brings a new responsibility she wasn't prepared for. The woman becomes determined to break the barrier. One day, she drives Hugo's car toward the village, hoping to smash through it. But as she approaches, the car slams into the invisible wall. The impact causes the bumper to crumple and smoke pours from the engine. Dazed and bleeding from a head wound, the woman gets out of the car to find the barrier still standing, untouched and unyielding. Exhausted, she gives up on trying to escape through force. Back at the lodge, she begins documenting her experiences. 10 days have passed, and no one has come to rescue her. She feels the weight of isolation pressing down on her. At one point, she even contemplates ending it all, overwhelmed by the feeling that there's no way out. But she gathers herself, finding some comfort in the supplies Hugo left behind, and the knowledge that she can survive the winter with Bella's milk and the wood she can gather. Over the following months, the woman keeps track of the passing time, growing potatoes and foraging for food. Her life has become a cycle of survival. One rainy day, while walking outside, she finds a frail cat soaked to the bone. She takes the cat in, naming it and finding another companion in her lonely existence. But as winter approaches, food becomes scarce. The woman has no choice but to hunt. She takes Lynx into the woods to hunt for deer, but a mishap with her rifle leaves her injured, her shoulder throbbing with pain. She returns to the wrecked car, where she discovers a map that might lead her to a neighboring resort. The next morning, she sets out once again, this time to find another lodge in a high alpine meadow. The beauty of the landscape offers her a brief respite from her isolation. She finds a timber truck in the forest, but the invisible barrier is still there, blocking her from interacting with anyone. Instead of growing frustrated, she smiles calmly and continues on her journey. At the lodge, she collects supplies, taking what she can carry. She takes a moment to sit in the sun with Lynx at her feet, watching a bird circle overhead. But the peaceful moment doesn't last long. She remembers Bella back at the original lodge, and after a brief sigh, she heads back, hunting a deer along the way. Guilt weighs on her as she takes the life of the animal, but she knows it's necessary for survival. One night, a storm rages outside. The woman is terrified by the lightning and thunder, but she closes her eyes and falls into a restless sleep. She has learned to live with the fear, the loneliness, and the strange, invisible wall that keeps her trapped in this eerie version of reality. One morning, the woman hears a strange noise coming from a cabinet. When she opens it, she discovers that the cat, who had been with her since she arrived, has given birth to a frail, white kitten. The kitten is small and delicate, with fur as white as snow. She names the kitten Pearl, thinking the little one is just as unlucky as she is to be stuck in this strange, isolated place. She feels a deep connection to Pearl, as though they are both trapped in an unknown world, destined to live and die alone, just like the animals in the forest. As the months pass, the woman works hard to survive. On July 20th, she spends long hours in the meadow, harvesting hay. The work is exhausting and her hands become sore and infected with cuts. After about 3 weeks, she finally manages to bring the hay back to the lodge. Despite her physical pain, she pushes herself, but she can't escape the feeling that something is wrong. Fall, her favorite season, arrives, but it's a time of illness and restlessness for her. She struggles to sleep at night, plagued by nightmares that seem more vivid than ever. The only comfort she finds is in Lynx, her loyal dog. He's always there to cheer her up when she feels down. Lynx has a unique way of lifting her spirits. He never stays sad for more than a few minutes, and his energy is contagious. The woman believes that there's something special about their bond because when Lynx sees her, he bows down, as if acknowledging her in a way that no one else does. One day, while exploring the forest for a new path, the woman comes across something unsettling. A tree is draped with human clothing left behind in the wind. The weather grows colder as the wind blasts snow down from the mountains, forcing her to stay inside the lodge for warmth. She worries about the cats, especially Pearl, who has grown frail over time. Soon, her worst fears are realized. After a powerful 3-day windstorm, she finds Pearl's lifeless body in the forest. The storm stops just as she buries the kitten, and the woman is left to confront death for the first time in the wilderness. She feels the weight of her solitude more than ever, but she also believes that, in this strange, isolated place, she is the only one who can tell right from wrong. From November 5th, she begins writing about her experiences on the backs of old calendars and scraps of paper, documenting the harsh winter ahead. Bella, the cow, is pregnant, and the woman feels a deep connection to her, as if Bella were a younger sister who has endured hardships just like her. But the thought of continuing to kill animals for food weighs heavily on her. She can't sleep at night, tormented by guilt over the animals she has taken to survive. On January 11th, Bella gives birth to a healthy calf and the woman is there to help. The process is long and difficult, but eventually, the calf is born, and the woman feels a sense of relief. Despite the birth of the calf, the woman's exhaustion grows and she dreams of collapsing into the cold, numbing snow, letting the world around her fade away. The Wall, 2012. By May 25th, the woman and her animals have spent a year in the lodge. They leave the valley and head for the high mountain pastures where the sun shines bright and the nights are filled with stars. The woman begins to feel less homesick, less anxious, and more at peace with her surroundings. For the first time, she doesn't feel the need to keep a diary. The days pass in a quiet rhythm, and she finds joy in the simple beauty of the meadow, surrounded by Lynx and her animals. The second summer in the highlands brings a subtle transformation. The woman feels as if she is becoming part of something larger, as though she is being absorbed into the land and the world around her. When she returns from the meadow in October, she resumes writing, though time seems to slip away faster than ever. She feels as though when she's working on something, the hours simply vanish, only to return when she's finished. One day, while sitting quietly in her chair, she reflects on her life with Lynx. She feels a deep empathy for all the animals and people who are forced to live their lives without choice. She notices a white crow, cast out by its black family, and feels a kinship with the lonely bird. She finds it beautiful and absurd that there should be no such thing as a white crow. She feeds the crow, thinking that it, like her, is alone in the world. As time passes, the woman begins to disengage from her past. She flourishes in the new order of things, finding peace in the rhythms of the land and her animals. In June, the woman returns to the meadow with Lynx and the rest of her animals. But this time, she doesn't feel the same excitement. She observes how Lynx has become fearless, no longer worried that she will disappear, like the others in the village. A dog's biggest fear is being left behind by the person they love, and Lynx believed that she and her owner shared a special bond. One afternoon after a hike, Lynx sensed something was wrong and raced back towards the lodge. The woman followed, only to find a strange, homeless man with a huge beard standing over Bella, her cow, and cruelly killing her calf with an axe. Terrified, she rushed inside to grab her gun. Before she could act, Lynx bravely charged at the man, trying to protect her, but the stranger struck Lynx down with his axe. Heartbroken, the woman shot the man dead, her hands trembling as she took his life. But it was too late for Lynx. The dog lay lifeless on the ground. With a heavy heart, she buried her beloved Lynx and tossed the man's body over a cliff. The next morning, she and Bella left the pasture and returned to the small valley where they lived. The woman spent the week harvesting potatoes, fruits, and straw in preparation for winter, which would soon be here. By February 25th, when her supply of paper ran out, she finished writing her report, the weight of the loss still heavy on her heart. And to not lose the opportunity for a nice story, I recommend clicking on the videos on the right next. Drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story and want to return for future uploads. Grab your popcorn, enjoy yourself, and see you soon, my friend.